Ghastly Gertrude Smith.
I prefer treacherous Trudy myself, but I'll take it. What brings you to my town?
I heard Rufus Buck was back.
News travels fast.
I have an offer he might want to hear about.
Well, any offer you got, you can make it to me.
I don't do business with the help.
Give me that.
Lead the way, treacherous Trudy.
So it's on Netflix November 3rd, in cinemas October 22nd. The Harder They Fall is new from writer-director Jeymes Samuel. One of its stars is Regina King. Jeymes, Regina, hello. How are you?
Well,
I'm golden. We're good.
That sounds like you had to think about it for a while. Like you're kind of okay, but you had to think about it for a while.
No.
not at
We're
all.
amazing. We're amazing.
We were just waiting to see who was going to answer first.
Yeah, and I was being.
Okay, well, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us. Jeymes, I guess we should start with you as the writer and the director. At the start of this movie, the words come up on the screen, these, full stop, people, full stop, existed, full stop. It's a very kind of emphatic opening. Just take us into what you're meaning by that and the world of this movie.
Well, growing up, I always loved Westerns. And even though the viewpoint and the scope and the vantage point that we were always shown those stories through was very white, male centric. So there was no room either side for interpretation of any kind. And as I got older, I would just read more and more, just trying to get a broader idea of what that period was. And I would come across all of these real characters that actually existed, like Rufus Buck, Nat Love, Bill Pickett, Cherokee Bill, Gertrude Smith, Stagecoach Mary, just all of these amazing characters that I'd never seen before in the Old West. And while I know all the words to Doris Day's Calamity Jane, Windy City. I just got back from the Windy City. The Windy City is mighty pretty, but they ain't got what we got. No, sorry. I've never been taught about Stagecoach Mary. So I just really, I told a fictional tale, and I assembled all of these swagged out characters like superheroes and put them in one place and one time, called The Harder They Fall. So I wanted people to know that even though the story is fictional, these people existed.
And The Harder They Fall, this is not the Humphrey Bogart, Rod Steiger movie from 1956. If anything, it's The Harder They Come, Jimmy Cliff, 1972. We're picking up from that. Would that be fair? Is that worth clarifying?
Absolutely. The title The Harder They Fall is a nod to, the title The Harder They Fall speaks to the actual environment of this story and the tale. Right. But it's also a nod to the Jamaican Jimmy Cliff movie. In the beginning of that movie, they're watching a film, right? They're watching a Western. And he's inspired, his character's inspired by that Western he watches. For me, The Harder They Fall is the Western that they would have been watching had it been made at the time when they were watching that Western.
Okay. All right. I want to ask you about music in just a moment, but Regina, how did this story and this movie idea come to your attention in the first place?
Jeymes, my agent, Lori, told me about this writer-director that had this Western that he was interested in me playing a role. And when I heard Western, I kind of was like, I'm not really the hugest fan of Westerns. And she was like, no, you just got to meet him, Regina. You just at least meet him. Read the script and meet him. I read the script and I thought it was a cool script, but again, Western. And then I meet him. I was in Atlanta shooting Watchmen, and he was, I think, here in London.
Yeah, I was in London.
Yeah, and we had a FaceTime that was supposed to be only like 30 minutes because I'm a very busy woman. Mm-hmm. And it ended up being, I don't know, like 45 minutes or an hour, and he just shared his vision, and he picked up his guitar and played some of the music that he had already written for the film, and the way he described the images that he wanted to capture. I was just like, if Westerns look like what he's describing, maybe I'd be a fan of Westerns, and I'm in. So that's kind of how it came to me.
Yeah. So we're back into the music, but I'm interested because you said in the past, Regina, that if a script doesn't speak to you off the page, if you're not feeling a connection, you're not going to do the audition. Although this doesn't sound like an audition, you know, because it's a waste of everyone's time. So you were convinced by the end of this sing along that you'd had with Jeymes that this had enough for you.
Well, there was a bit more than a sing along because I wasn't singing along. It was, it felt like this is a film that I would go see. It felt everything that Jeymes described felt pulpy, felt stylized, felt like something I'd never seen before. And I think it's really hard in this day and age to do something fresh. And so to take something that's probably one of the oldest genres when it comes to cinema and flip it on its head and make a person that has no interest in Westerns whatsoever interested, that's, you know, kind of the point and the beauty of storytelling.
Tell us about Treacherous Trudy.
Well, I would say Trudy is a woman that definitely beats to the tune of her own drum. She is not making decisions because anyone else is telling her she should. And I would say she's a bit unpredictable.
Yeah, I guess the clue is in that if your character is called Treacherous Trudy, that's almost like a spoiler right there.
Sure.
The teaser of the trailer might be a bit of a spoiler, right?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely. So, Jeymes, can you just explain something of this kind of Marvel-sized cast of characters who you have in this movie? Because Treacherous is Trudy's just one of them. Just explain Nat Love and Rufus Buck and the story that you're telling in this film.
Well, you know, at root, for me, The Harder They Fall is a love story. It's a love story grounded in vengeance. A child has his everything he's known ripped away in front of him, has his parents killed, and he spends his life trying to track down the killer. But the themes in the movie are actually love. With regards to the cast, I had to have like a mammoth cast, and when I say mammoth in size, I mean also in spirit and visual, because the characters they were playing were mammoth characters. These were characters that existed over 100 years ago that we can still find pictures of today that everyone ignores. But imagine how hard it was being a woman back then, let alone a black woman. And a black woman making her name, and just so much so that we can read about her 100 years plus later. And all of these amazing characters, in order to do them justice, man, you need an amazing cast. You need to literally go, okay, best case scenario on everyone you're casting, even the more unknown characters that you're trying to portray. Best case scenario, who could make him? And then you have to just kind of, you know, grab your wits, get on a plane, and try to cast the people you want. And I'll say I was kind of fortunate.
I'll say he's very convincing. He can sell you a pair of shoes that's 2 sizes too big.
You know what I mean? Be like, look at these, but soak them in water.
Jeymes, was there any part of you, if you're honest, just to forget the fact that Regina is sitting next to you, was there any part of you that was nervous about directing someone who is a successful director themselves? Because One Night in Miami was so lauded and so praised, and you're working with someone who knows exactly what they're doing. Is that scary?
Because I said no before you finished. I was like, oh, you're talking about Regina. Well, in that case, no, it wasn't. Because the thing is with Regina, she's mad generous in spirit. So she was in post for One Night in Miami while she was shooting The Harder They Fall. And she would be giving me tips and telling me about the production and this and that, literally the entire way through, and just almost like protecting me from all the things that could go wrong. Because, you know, when you're making a film, they talk about Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law is dead. COVID killed Murphy's Law. Murphy caught coronavirus and died. It's called COVID's Law. And when you're making a film in COVID's Law, when you're making a film under COVID's Law, everything that can go wrong will go wrong, has already gone wrong, and goes wrong every single day. So you need like Regina, while she was playing Trudy, and when she'll turn up on set, she was Trudy Smith, but she was also like a wicked teammate going through the trenches with me, like as a director. And so it was just awesome all the way.
Regina, have you watched it? Because you have said in the past that you would prefer not to watch yourself on screen.
I still prefer not to watch myself. I'm going to watch it at the premiere.
You haven't seen it. You haven't seen this movie.
I've seen a really rough version, kind of, that I've definitely had to go to the bathroom quite a few times.
You haven't seen this movie, have you? I've seen it.
But I'm so excited about seeing, this is Jeymes' first film. You know, it's the first of many, and he's put so years of himself into it. So I want to see it. So I'm going to remove that Regina from it and just enjoy The Harder They Fall.
Can I just, Jeymes, can I just ask you about the music? Because we talked about the music a little bit and you've hinted at it, and it's certainly true that there isn't any traditional cowboy music in this film. When Idris Elba was on the show a few years ago for Yardi, I got the feeling that what he really wanted to talk about was the music and the soundtrack, and he absolutely loved putting that whole thing together. And I guess that there are a lot of music fans working with you on this. You are a music producer and a singer-songwriter yourself. Putting this music together must have been at the heart of telling this story and putting your gang together.
Well, yeah, you know, I composed the score for the film and wrote and produced the songs on the soundtrack. But I've always said that I hear cinema and I see music. So when I'm writing a script, I hear the motifs as I'm talking the words out. And I hear the melodies, and it's kind of like all one thing for me. You know, for the most part, the script may have 3 acts and the song has 3 acts, and they're kind of like the same thing. I think we separate them, but in my brain, they all exist as the same thing. The characters would be singing a song in a chant in the film that leads into a song on the soundtrack. And for me, the most important thing I wanted people to do was to celebrate the score again when they leave the film. If I say to you, da, na, 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 you say E.T. If I go, dun, 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 Raiders of the Lost Ark, dun, 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 Star Wars, all John Williams scores, by the way. But remember how we used to celebrate scores? And I don't get that feeling as much anymore. So it was a real task for me to give this film its own sonic landscape and signature, and for you to come out with those motifs and themes, which is one of my uses of dub. To touch on something you said earlier, it's weird how we view the Western. You said there's no traditionally Old West music in this, but Hollywood has never given us traditional Old West music. When you see Dean Martin singing My Rifle, My Pony and Me in Rio Bravo, that wasn't the music cowboys were listening to 70 years prior. We just accept that as their music. When you hear ding 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 ding, ha 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 hey ha. Jesse James never even heard of the electric guitar. That's just the music Hollywood at the time was recording and giving to the public. So for me, it was like, okay, well, let me, as Al Pacino says in Scent of a Woman, take a flamethrower to this place and do something new and give us our own signature and give us the movie that we've been waiting for.
Regina, just before we're done, what are you working on next? Are you acting next, directing next? Is it Bitterroot that's coming next for you?
Bitterroot is coming up, but before I do that, stop. I'm playing Shirley Chisholm. So I'm preparing for that right now. So I'm acting next. I'd like to go back and forth between the two. So.
And Jeymes, what do you? Yeah, I mean, clearly you're intoxicated with this movie, and it is an intoxicating film. But I wonder where you might be taking your attention next.
Something with Regina.
No.
No. The movie I'm doing next is really far. It's far away from a Western. But you will see, Jeymes, if you want to call them that, signatures in there, and they kind of relate to each other. And then I'll be back to the Old West at some point. The Harder They Fall was always a much wider story for me. And as John Malkovich says in Dangerous Liaisons, it's beyond my control. I love Westerns, so I'll always, I'm gonna do more Westerns. I'm gonna do this thing first, and I'm gonna do something with Regina.
Waiting for the Trudy spinoff.
You know what I mean?
The Trudy Smith film.
You know what I mean? I would do this and then do that, and then, if Regina would cook with me again, we'll probably end up cooking something. I don't know, just throwing that
Throwing it out there, okay.
And then I don't know, if lightning strikes the same place twice. Like, no, this time I'm not doing it. But we'll be back.
All right. Jeymes Samuel, Regina King, thank you very much for speaking to us. Appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
And thank you, Regina.
Thank you, Jeymes.